And we have to be wise to be able to assess our past and analyze our past and take our journey and use that wisdom. But the real discipline and the art that I have found of the daily rhythm is the capacity to be focused.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Remarkable CEO. I am Dr. Stephen Franson.
I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
We're super excited to get together with you once again today. Thanks for listening. Hey, we love the feedback we've been getting from everybody. Thank you for the 5-star reviews and all, just your kind words, man. There's nothing like hearing back from our listeners that you're taking this information, not just entertainment, you're actually letting it hit the ground. So awesome to hear the results that you've been getting. We just appreciate the feedback. Please continue to share. And speaking of sharing, if you know another chiropractor out there who this podcast could be an inflection point for them, please take a minute and share it with them. And share it with 10 of them. Post it on social media, whatever it takes to get this message out to chiropractors everywhere. Remember, gang, we're in the business of saving lives, and when business is good, everybody wins. You could help somebody else help more people. So thanks in advance for that. So Dr. Pete, we found ourselves here in the month of January, right? So we're in the beginning of 2020. We've taken this sort of 3-step process from super high level, talking about the theme for the year. We've done a double click and we zoomed in on the quarterlies and how do we prepare for the quarterlies, looking across the landscape of the year. Today, I want to go even deeper, and I'd like to hear more about your day-to-day life. Like, you give us a window into the life of Dr. Pete as far as how do you prepare for the day, right? So we've talked about the year, we've talked about the quarter. Now let's talk about the day, like every day, getting out of bed, feet on the ground. I know you, and I know how important your morning rituals are. Because you know that it's how we get our mindset right to go and serve the people. So talk to us a little bit of what's that look like for you, bro?
You know what? This is such an important subject matter. We talk about we want to win the year. What's the way that you win the year? You win the day, right? Like it's easy to get overwhelmed by a year, but I'll tell you what, you can win the day. And I'm just going to encourage a lot of you as you're listening to this. You might be overwhelmed with how things are this week or this month so far and where you're at and where you want to be this year, and you're listening to this. I'm telling you right now, win today. All we have is today. And, a big part of my journey is disciplining myself to be present. One of the greatest forces on earth is presence, your capacity to be present in the moment. And for me, winning the day is about being present in today. As CEOs, as achievers, as driven people, it's so easy for us to live in way down the road. And it's really easy for us sometimes to be still in the past. And we have to be wise to be able to assess our past and analyze our past and take our journey and use that wisdom for making better decisions moving forward. And we also need to be looking ahead. But the real discipline and the art that I have found of the daily rhythm is the capacity to be focused today. It's the ability to be fully present and engaged in this one day that I have.
That's such a good word, man. So many of the clients that we work with, so many of the doctors, in my experience, there's a freak out factor that's got them so distracted and is wasting so much of their energy, right? So that like you said, they're either fretting about something in the past, or they're attached to something that happened in the past or what have you, or they're just freaking out about what's to come, either later this week or later this month or the end of the year. And, there's this sense of overwhelm. And yes, we've been talking about assessing, we've been talking about planning, preparing, etc. But today we're talking about being in the moment, right? And that present time consciousness. And it's like doing the heavy lift and benefiting from looking in the rearview mirror, and it's looking to the future, looking through the windshield. But like all good driving, you got to know what's going on the dashboard as well. You've got to have that present time consciousness.
It's interesting because we had talked about in a previous episode, how chiropractors live week to week, right? It's like we talk about volume collections. It's weekly. We're weekly. And we've really got to shift from that owner operator mindset, kind of that weekly, into we've got to shift into that CEO where you're looking monthly, quarterly, annually. But actually, the capacity to do that comes down to your discipline of the daily. Your daily actually frees you up to not have to live week to week anymore because of the rhythms and the rituals you have in place. So it's the disciplines of the daily that enable one to become a CEO. Because what I realized in my own journey was when I really transitioned from authentically going from an owner operator to CEO is when I won the day. I won the day, and I always had a war plan. I started with a war plan before I even got into practice. Very, very disciplined. That's not my issue. But it didn't have it where I was bringing in the vision. I was bringing all that into one day. I was war planning, and I was just going for it. But I wasn't as dialed in as I am now, which I can walk you through some of the things that I do. But if you are a CEO and you're functioning as a CEO and you want to be a CEO, it's actually about the discipline of the daily. That's really what's going to free you up and enable you to get there. So you said something I just want to dive in. You said first thing feet hit the floor. So one of the biggest transformations that I've done recently is that instead of my feet hitting the floor, the first thing hits the floor is my knees hit the floor. And that's been transformative for me. I read a book by Mark Batterson, and it's called The Circle Drawer. And in that book, I just was very convicted. And one of the things was positioning and posture, and how important positioning yourself is for the day, literally. And as a chiropractor, I'm big into posture and ergonomics and all of that. And one of the things that I've done, which has been really transformative for me, is the first thing that actually hits the floor is the knees hit the floor. And that's been transformative for me to start my day right. It's not comfortable, obviously. It's not like what you want to do necessarily, but it's the right thing. It's been the right thing for me to do. So I'm just going to say that. I know this is a podcast and we're getting into the daily, but for me, a lot of my discipline it's spirit, mind, body. So I call it my triple threat position, because that's when I'm going to be the most effective, when I'm in my triple threat. Triple threat is spirit right, mind right, body right. I get my heart, head, hands, feet moving in the right direction, all the same direction. That's an aligned person. Aligned people are really hard to stop, right? So when you're aligned, to me, it's spiritual alignment, mental alignment, and then physical alignment. So that looks like, for me, it's spiritual. It's the prayer time. It's the meditation. It's mental, which is actually looking through and assessing my goals and writing out my goals and my plan, all that for the day. Then it's physical. It's actually exercising. It depending on the day and what it is, it might be a stretch day or just do light warm-ups. Some days it's hit the gym day, depending on the day of the week. But there's always a body element that's included in my morning routine. And that morning routine has to happen before the day starts. That's the other thing, is the day starts for me before the day starts for everybody else, especially in my season, family, lots of children, all that going on. For me to win the day means I won the day before everybody else started the day. And so a lot of this has to happen early. And that's what I see is really what's freed me up to say the rest of the day, I'm ready to go, because I've already worked. I'm already done. Like, now let's go have some fun. The hard work was getting up super early and getting all these disciplines in place. Now it's like, what are we going to do? It's going to be awesome. So if you win that morning routine, for me, the rest of the day goes forward. So it starts out with the spiritual disciplines for me. So I, again, hit the floor. I have some very specific things that I do. I pray. I have very specific things that I read. And that's all part of getting it right. And so I start with that. And then I transition into I do some gratitude and Thanksgiving. I do a lot of that. And then I go into receiving. So then I start writing. I'll write and I'll journal from things that I've read or things that I'm feeling inspired with. And then I take time to write. This is all still part of the spiritual element for me. I do a lot of prayer and intercession. So I like praying for like my business and my people I work with and the people that I work for. And I like doing that. And that's a rhythm that I do every single day. And so it's a big part of what I feel like is what I bring to the table and how I show up best, And so I know the things that I need to do. And this is continuing to be reshaped over my life. And I'm sure it's going to be a year from now. You'll ask me, like, is it the exact same? It'll probably tweak a little bit, but it'll be adjusted, not tweaked. It'll be adjusted to be optimized because of where I'm at. So that spiritual element, that's at least the first 30 minutes for me in the morning. So I've got to make sure I've got that time to do that. Then I go into the mental side. Mental is I bust out my plan for the day. So, this is even before I get into my Google Calendar. What I do the night before is I prepare for the next day the night before. That's also been big. So part of my morning routine actually begins in my night routine. My night sets up my morning. So I have already written out my schedule for the next day, like all my appointments, the meetings, everything I have. Then what I do is I go into, I look at them again, and then I start asking myself, I look at every person as, say, a client that I'm going to meet with or a meeting with the team, and I start looking at it, looking at the list, and I say, okay, what do I need to be? Who do I need to be for this person? How do I need to show up best? Is there anything I need to be? And this is before I go back and look at notes. This is just going into my heart. This is still heart. You see what I'm doing? I'm still connected to my spirit, my heart, and bringing that into the moment of the mind. So now I'm not just going right into tactics yet. I'm still being strategic. Strategic is I'm thinking before I'm doing. I'm actually thinking about it. So now strategic, I think, okay, I have a meeting with this doctor today. Okay, what am I thinking about them? Remember the last call? Without looking at my notes, I'll just be like, what am I thinking? And I'll make a note, something I want to say to them or something I'm thinking. And I'll go through my day with my team or whatever, and I'll think through that. Then I have a morning mindset. I answer 10 questions every single day that help me get my day ready. And so I go through my morning mindset. I set my 3 goals for the day. I always set goals for every single day, and I do that. And so that's part of just starting the day mentally. And then I'll go into my calendar and I'll look at things and I'll say, okay, am I ready to rock and roll? And then from there, once I've written out my day and I've reviewed it again, and I've got it real specific with goals and tasks that must be done today and all this stuff, then it's the physical element. That's when I like to exercise. On days where I exercise, I hit the gym. I do work out at home. I have that convenience. I don't have to go anywhere, so it's really nice. So I immediately go in and I do a workout for the day. And then that, to me, gets me set up before I get into the office, before I get to work. Boom. Like, that's, for me, that's the triple threat position.
Just love that, Dr. Pete. So, so you just kind of make it up as you go is what you're saying, right? So this sleeping in, this hitting the snooze button, this choking down a cup of coffee and a donut, right? And then just stressing out because you're running late to work, right? So, man, it's just an amazing, you can imagine the state that you get in just going through. I was just running through that ritual with you. It was very visual. And, just the idea of like, you're choosing to create an environment where you're much, much more likely to achieve the state that you're going to want to have going into your day. And of course, choosing your state is choosing your mindset, and that sets your physiology, and your physiology is what drives your performance. Performance drives your outcomes, right? So, these things are all highly deliberate. This is all very intentional, and it's all so actionable, right? So, here's just a quick recap. What I heard was, a great morning starts with a great night before, right? So you can't get smoked the night before and then expect, you're boozing, staying up too late, having a giant meal and going to bed, like lots of technology and just like stressed out and what have you, getting to bed really late and expecting to have a great morning. It's just not going to happen, right? So if that was you, and you know what, get up anyway and struggle through it, and just make a note of how you feel that morning, the cloudiness, the physical fatigue, right? The angst that comes with that lifestyle. So you can feel it in the emotion in the now, in the right now, and say, yeah, you know what, tonight I'm going to do better. And it's not about perfection. It's about progression, you guys. So I hope you hear this loud and clear. It's not perfection. It's progression, right? So take where you are right now, take the morning that you have right now and start tweaking it. Tweak it the night before, right? Start backing out of the technology. Start backing off of the alcohol that upsets your sleeping patterns. Start backing into an earlier bedtime, right? So some contact time with your spouse or your life partner, and just some connection time. Start thinking about the next day in a positive light, setting intentions on the next day. Just start backing into it step by step by step. Get up earlier the next morning. Move that alarm clock back, right? Pick your favorite song so you're waking up to your favorite inspirational song, not some buzzer, right? So back it up. If you're getting up at 7 o'clock now, make that 6:45 and then make it 6:30, right? If you're doing 6 o'clock now, back that into 5:45 and then 5:30, right? So just have a goal when you want to back into it. If you've spent any time around me, you hear me say things like, hey, purpose gets up early, right? So, or success gets up early, or like my son, my 15-year-old heard last night, victory gets up early. He's got an 8:30 soccer game this morning. So what time should I get up, Dad? I'm like, well, Victory gets up early, and he's like, got it, I'm on it. Right? So money gets up early, right? So just give yourself these expressions that you're like, okay, Roger that, I'm on it. And I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna share some history here. I walk with a limp here. I can remember at one point early in my career looking at my checkout CA, Diane, and saying, hey, Diane, what time's my first appointment scheduled for tomorrow morning? At the end of a busy day in practice, quote unquote, busy day. And she'd be like, oh, you have somebody at 9:30. I'm like, okay, so don't schedule anybody before that. Man, that's early. Okay, I want to be able to sleep in tomorrow. And we'd have our first patient at 9:30 in the morning, right? And man, by the time, when we were in full gear, we'd see 120 people by 9:30 in the morning, because we started seeing patients at 6:45 in the morning, and there'd be a line out the door waiting for us to open up at 6:45 in the morning. We'd be huddling at 6:30, opening it up at 6:45. I would have started at 6, but my team they said, that's it, Doc. That's as early as we're going, right? So ask yourself, like, what's possible for your practice? Start early. Success gets up early. Purpose gets up early, right? And master that morning. So, Dr. Pete, I love what you said there, and I heard it. CJ Mertz, I heard him say once. It just really, I don't know whether he was the originator of this thought, but he was the person that taught me. If you want to master your life, you got to first master your month. In order to master your month, you got to first master your week. In order to master your week, you've got to first master your day. And in order to master your day, you've got to first master your morning. And in order to master your morning, you've got to learn how to master yourself. Man, that was it. I heard that and I was like, that's it. That's what I'm doing. I'm taking back my mornings.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, because what we're doing here is we're distilling it back down to the smallest element. And this is why it's achievable, right? It's very achievable. This is a very achievable thing. And I think you said a lot of really important things. One is wherever you are right now, whatever you would consider your routine, whether it's working really, really well for you, or you're like, man, this is something that's got to change. Make little changes. Start with little things that you can do that are going to change, the routine. I found that for me, what I would sacrifice first was myself. I would be right up to get to work, and I'm immediately serving patients, meaning I'm immediately like thinking about the schedule, thinking about what am I going to do. And if you don't take time to start your day, it's just a different way. So getting that extra time, it seems like, well, I don't have to be up till this time, because if I get up, I can hit the shower, get the coffee, bam, 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 bam. You haven't taken time to be. You may say, well, I've just been laying down the whole night. I mean, I've been sleeping. So what do I need to do that for? Because you're a human being, and your being is made up of a spirit primarily, having a physical experience. So you have to deal with that. You have to face with that. You don't have to, actually. You get to face it. And what I found was, when I do that, the way I show up physically and mentally is so much better than what it was when I don't do that. And that's where I would just encourage you, if you can add anything into your life, especially becoming the CEO, is a very spiritual transformation. It really is. It's very, it's emotional. It's spiritual. It's very practical and tangible as well. But there's a real shift. We talk about the shift is an identity shift. That's deep. That's a deeper thing. That's heart level stuff. And so for you to transform, for me to transform, for us to continue to transform and continue to show up our best, the leader asks themselves this question: who do I need to become? Right? Who do I need to be? So who do you need to become to manifest the vision you have for this year, 2020? Who do you need to become? Where you're going to get that answer? It's in the daily. It's in this daily rhythm. It's in this daily routine. That's where you're going to get the answer to that question. If you really ask yourself that question, you really want to get the answer, part of asking questions is being able to listen. And so if you ask it, the best time to listen, I find, is early in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So quick recap, guys. So number one, remember this. It's not about perfection. It's about progression. So just take where you are right now, assess it, and just get clear on what's the next iteration of you, right? So just every single day, get a little bit better. Number two, if you want to master your life, you have to first master your morning. In order to master your morning, you've got to be able to master yourself, right? And, at the end of the day, guys, you have to choose. You have to choose. You don't have to do, but you have to choose. And you're either choosing to stay in bed, hit the snooze, hit the alarm, choke down that coffee, rush and stress off to work, and be that person showing up to your business, where you get to choose that you're going to actually carve out some time for yourself to do this preparation. Instead of just focusing on your regimen, which is the things that you have to do, you can focus on creating a ritual, which is what you get to do, so that you can choose your mindset. And it's your mindset that sets your physiology, and your physiology which drives your performance, and it's your performance that'll drive your outcomes.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic. And what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.